I put on my Macy's suit. I grabbed the fake Fendi that I bought on Canal Street the day before. And I go out in the world to do my very best. So I show up for lunch in this exquisite restaurant in one of their hotels on Park. And we sit down at lunch, and it's one of these out-of-body kind of experiences because the wait staff is so attentive. They're like, "Hey, Mrs. Tish, would you like some more coffee?" "Oh, Mrs. Tish, would you like a chocolate chip cookie just right out of the oven?" Right? They're taking such good care of her. And then all the people are stopping by the table, and it's like, "Oh, Anne, so good to see you." And I finally look at her and I said, "Does that get a little bit old after a while?" And she goes, "It's awful. When I throw a party, I lock myself in the bathroom and I take my cell phone and I call my girlfriends up." She says, "So you're a professional speaker. That must mean that you have to travel and are away from home quite a bit." And I said, "Yes. There is nothing that I miss more than Friday night out for dinner with the girls, followed by a nice trip to Super Walmart. You know, to one of the richest women in the world." And she just stares at me. And I finally, you know, just get okay in my skin there. And she finally says, "I just love Target." And I said, "You're kidding me." She said, "No, I went to Super Target 2 weeks ago and I spent $400 and I was cashing out, and the woman said to me, 'Mrs. Tish, would you like to save 10% on your order?'" And I said, "Well, yes, I would." And so then, you know, I sent her an email and said, "You know, I'm telling people all over the country that you go to Target." And she writes back and says, "Well, I go to Kmart too." The point is that you will always get more by being who you are, by letting go of the facade that we think we have to maintain by being successful, responsible, professional women. You still have that core, successful part of you that is you. So embrace that. Find that. Mine it. This woman founded Nature's Sunshine Vitamins, and she did it with $150 and an idea. She had 7 kids, no college degree, and she turned her vitamin company into a $320 million a year enterprise. And I said, "Well, how did you do it?" And she says, "Well, you know, I'm really a take me as I am kind of person. I get up in the morning, I put on whatever I find that fits because I'm overweight, and I go out in the world and do the best that I can." And I said, "Well, let's talk about your weight," because that's always been my issue. And there was this just audible sigh. And she finally said, "Can you imagine what it's like to stand at the head of a vitamin company and be overweight?" And I thought, you know, she's got 5 homes, and she's got all that money and all that prestige and everything that we think that we are waiting for to get. And if the reward for all of that success is not great self-esteem, then it's a game we play on ourselves. And I asked everybody I interviewed after that about their self-esteem, and all of them, except for about 5 people, admitted they had pretty severe self-esteem issues. And I think of the 5, 3 were lying. I believed Jane Goodall. There's something about it, you know, Jane's got it figured out. But if everybody is doing that, then why is it that we will say meaner things to ourselves than we would say to a complete stranger or to someone we don't even like? You know, it is amazing the game we play on ourselves. So I always say when I do a book, I get $1 million worth of free therapy because that changed my life. It freed me to be who I am. And that's a great, great power to have. So I free you all because it's not real. Yeah, you can clap. Clap it on your It is. We are so hard on ourselves. He was using a compass and a formula that had something to do with time plus distance equals something with direction. To me, I just looked at him when it became really clear he didn't know where we were and said, "Why don't you use a GPS?" To which he said, "A GPS can break." To which I said, "That would be when you use the compass." Now, this is a moment that all of us reach at some point when in our heads and in our hearts we know we are following a bad leader. How many of you have the guts to say no? I mean, I was talking back, but I didn't say, "I'm going here, I don't care what you do." I knew that that's what I should have done. And I looked at this one guy that was there with me, and he looked at me and he goes, and I thought what he was saying was, "It's not a big deal, keep moving." Later I found out what he was saying was, "What are we going to do?" He was looking to me to step up and lead. The waves were crashing up into the boats, and we are not seeing any land. And I had my moment of truth. I said, "Okay, God, if this is what you have in mind for me as to how I'm going to die, I'm okay with it. But if it's not what you have in mind for me, then you need to do something right now." And just then, there was an island. There comes a moment when you have to say, "This is where we need to go." So if you expect trouble, you'll get it. If you expect to have a hard time, you'll have a hard time. If you think things are going to be easy, they'll be easier. If you know that you have the ability to get through anything, you have the ability to get through anything. You have to be able to drown out every negative thing that you are saying to yourself, because those messages are what are holding you back. Those messages are keeping you at the bottom of the mountain and not letting you go up and see what you're capable of doing.